It's the worst thing I've ever seen. And yet, I love it. Hello and welcome back to the Palaeocast Gaming Network, and today we are playing this again. Welcome back to American Truck Simulator. It has been a long time coming. So, if you're new to the channel, because I first did this quite a while ago now, we're basically going for Top Gear but with paleontology and without the rampant bigotry, climate change denial, and colonial overtones, etc, etc. If you've never seen this game before, it's literally what it says on the tin. It is a truck driving simulator. It's a nice, relaxing game where we can look at cool, surprisingly accurate rocks. Nothing will go wrong whatsoever. Everything is fine all the time. It's fantastic. We're going to be starting, well, we're actually on the Colorado-Utah border in a place literally called Dinosaur Land. If you don't believe me, ta-da! I was hoping to go and look at some really cool Jurassic rocks, which we are going to do. But first, this entire area is just littered with the, weirdest looking dinosaur statues. That looks ridiculous, but that is barely scratching the surface for some of the dinosaurs that we're about to see. So, before we even look at the rocks, that's what we're doing first. Oh, I need to quickly memorize which side of the road we're on in this country, because I've been playing a lot of Watch Dogs 3. Oh, look at that! What's that say? Hold on. Welcome to Dinosaur, Colorado. Entry to the Dinosaur National Monument. I'm trying to film a video. Just wait. The Dinosaur National Monument is a huge exposure of a rock called the Morrison Formation. So back in the Jurassic period, around 150 million years ago. Is this the place to turn around? I don't... it'll do. Around 150 million years ago, northern Utah was this vast savanna-like environment, crisscrossed with rivers, and they were laying down this sandstone, and yeah, it was the perfect environment for things like Allosaurus, and sauropods like Diplodocus, and Camarasaurus, and Stegosaurus, all of the sort of classic Jurassic dinosaurs from back in the day. So I thought we'd take this thing. I don't even know what it is. It looks like a little house. I thought we'll take that because last time we did this, I had 4 trailers or something stupid like that. We were a bit of a road train. I thought we'll take this little thing so I don't get snagged on anything, and it's already happened. Hang on, wiggle that free from there, and then we'll just kind of, yeah, that'll do. And we just, oh no! Look at that absolute clown. Hopefully by the end of this crazy road trip, you will understand some of the changes that this state has gone through, because it's really interesting. Well, look, it's the Green River. That will be very important at some point in this video. Remember that river, right, everyone? In your handbooks, write that down now, and then we'll come back to that later on. Anyway, so we have... I was just trying to set up my sat-nav. Anyway, what on earth was I trying to even convey? Who knows? Oh, that's right. Basically, before the Jurassic, this entire area was underwater. If you remember last time, we were basically talking about how America was forming and the west coast kind of extending. So back in the day, Utah was on the coast, and we're going to see a lot of that as we explore. And oh my goodness, up ahead is our first our first new best friend. Ooh, I know where we should pull over. Let's pull over at, and this is seriously cool that this is in the game. Yep, we'll get there in a second. The Utah Fieldhouse of Natural History. Let me just climb around here. I've totally dropped all pretense that we're an actual trucker at this point. I've basically just stolen a lorry. Yeah, this is the Utah Fieldhouse of Natural History, which is a legitimate paleontological museum that is just in the game. How cool is that? Can we read this sign? No, we cannot. But anyway, this entire town of Vernal is full of dinosaurs. Let's look. What even is that? Hang on, let's just quickly run across here. Hang on, let me just use my special powers. Perfect. Okay, so let's figure out what this is meant to be. Well, there's clearly a Stegosaurus down here. Very adorable, if kind of weirdly molded face. And we've got, like, I guess a very little sauropod, to be fair. It's kind of the same height as the Stegosaur, which is a bit weird. And it seems to be having a bit of a disagreement with... let me just use my extendo legs real quick. Yeah, that is awful. that is no good. But hilariously, it actually looks like this in real life. So, to be honest, I can't really complain because, yeah, it basically looks like that anyway. If we just quickly sprint over here, we've got, what is this? We've got a little woolly mammoth, which doesn't really make sense based on what it's next to, but to be honest, it does look pretty spectacular. We've got another Stegosaurus, which I think is actually the same Stegosaurus, but this one has more detail on it. Interesting. And this little fella, which I'm guessing... who knows what? Literally, who knows what that could possibly be? Maybe it's like a Troodon or something? And then around here, I think, this is the car park, which I would have parked in, but unfortunately it has an impenetrable boundary to it. We've got these two having a little scrap in the car park, as you do, and I just want to comment on this thing's teeth. Look, game developers who make this game, I absolutely love you. I think this game is awesome, and I really love that, you know, that it's just a game about driving around looking at rocks. It isn't about driving around looking at rocks, I just make it that way. But this is hilarious, and I love it. It's got that, like, classic sort of upright spine look to it. I love just, like, the weirdly positioned eyes, and it's incredible. There's also this little Triceratops. It's funny as well, because these actually, I've seen on Google Maps, these things are huge in real life. But anyway, there's two more, I think. Let's just duck under here. We've got Dina, which is its actual name. So I think back in the day, this thing used to actually be part of a hotel. So I think there was like a hotel around here, and this was like the name of the hotel, like Dina's something or whatever. The hotel was demolished, but the town kept the statue. And why wouldn't you? Because it's the most majestic thing I've ever seen. I swear there was another dinosaur here. Maybe we're going to have to get back in the truck and drive a little bit further. Away we go. I think we're doing well. I've even found a lane just for me. What are the chances? Oh, red light. God damn it. I think we're a little bit over the line. I can't actually see the traffic light. Let me just back up a smidge. Is it green? Why? What is with this? I'm ducking in real life as if that's actually going to help. There we go. Oh my god! Imagine playing this game in VR. I should do that. I should spend all of my grant money on a VR headset and one of those steering wheels for like the full immersive truck driving experience. Uh-oh. Everyone kind of keep your eyes peeled for this dinosaur, okay? It's the scariest one. I'll say that. That's your warning for it. Look for the most terrifying thing that you've ever seen in your entire life, because it's out here somewhere. There it is! We can just park in this little hedge here. Perfect. Right. And... da 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 da! Look at that! Look at that absolute... there's no words in the English language to describe how uncomfortable this makes me. Like, look at it. Look at this thing. This is a real thing in a real place on the planet. People drive to work, drive to school, and have to look at this thing. It's the worst thing I've ever seen. And yet, I love it. Anyway, that concludes Jake's impromptu tour of the cursed dinosaurs of Vernal, Utah. Shall we go and look at some rocks now? Yes, Jake, yes we should. So yeah, like I was saying, back in the Paleozoic, Utah was pretty much underwater. It was a very shallow, tropical ocean with coral reefs and all sorts of wonderful creatures. But by the Triassic, the sea level began to drop, until eventually, by the Jurassic, Utah continues to dry up, and it becomes one of the driest places on Earth in the Jurassic. And we're going to see evidence of that in the rock record, just as soon as I figure out where we are and where we're meant to be going. Pick up the pieces of a brittle tree, 'cause I lost myself somewhere along the line. But I push it through the pain and I feel fine. I'm on my way, I'm back to the start. I've been waiting so long. I'm on my way. Hopefully, before we get to the actual outcrop, we can find somewhere to sleep. I don't think... Hang on, I can't... There's a sleep... Hang on, wait. Do we have to... Okay, so this place is coming up. We're good. We are absolutely fine. Whoa, how the hell do people operate like sat-navs while driving? I physically don't think I'm actually capable of doing that. That's actually quite worrying, isn't it? I know you can't see where my eyes were looking there, but I was just like... Ah, it's tactics. Anyway, it doesn't matter. No one cares. They just want to see rocks, and all we've done is crash into signs. Like last time. You'd think maybe my talents would have improved. Ah, here it is. I think. Yeah. Right, so we're here now. This is the... Oh, come on. There we go. So yeah, this is the cave. You can see there's an interesting rock type, which we'll talk about in a minute, but there's nowhere to sleep. So... what we're actually going to do is we're going to carry on for a little bit and come back, okay? So let's just keep our heads down, you know, no one learn anything yet. Oh, wait, hang on a second. We can sleep here. Ha-ha! Well, pull up alongside this guy and scare him in the morning. Genuine... legitimate yawn, perfectly timed. That's the kind of immersion that the Palaeocast Gaming Network can provide. To the cave! Oh, what the hell was that? Ooh, that looks like a very good spot to do it. That is also a good spot. Let's pull over here. Righty then. It's going to be a bit noisy, I apologise for the trucks driving past, but it's going to be worth it, because this is seriously really interesting. Okie dokie. So, I am fairly confident that this is meant to represent the Navajo Sandstone. It's a Jurassic rock made up of very fine grains of sand in this weird, like, diagonal pattern. It tells us pretty clearly that where we are standing was once a vast desert. So this part of Utah was basically the Jurassic equivalent of like the Sahara Desert, basically. And that's why the sand is so small, because, well, it's way too dry, obviously, for water to move sand around, so instead it's going to be carried by the wind. But the wind can obviously only move very fine particles, and as I'm sure you know, wind plus sand creates sand dunes, and that's basically what these layers are. They're Jurassic sand dunes compressed into rock, which is so cool. However, the developers have gotten it slightly wrong. So in reality, we'd expect to see crossbedding. So this is where the sand is sort of blown repeatedly over a dune again and again and again to form these like neat, sharp, diagonal beds that sort of taper at the end. Instead, they've sort of just put the regular beds of sandstone kind of texture and then just kind of tilted it on its side. Like, I appreciate the effort, but like, it's not quite there. I don't know, it sounds really petty, but the thing is, like, geologists and paleontologists, we rely on structures like this to work out whether or not the rock is the right way up. So, like, faults and other processes can overturn rock like this, but we know how modern day dunes form. So if a cross-bedded rock looks upside down, it's because it is upside down. Because as dumb as it sounds, we know that dunes don't form upside down. That would break the laws of gravity, which we're pretty confident were the same in the Jurassic as they are now. What's really interesting, though, if you look at the top up here, there's like a really abrupt change in like the colour and the structure. This new rock just kind of comes in and destroys the underlying sandstone and dumps all this kind of reddish brown kind of rock on top. As a result, in this point here where the two rocks meet, there is actually information missing, and we call this sort of hypothetical gap an unconformity. So the change in rock type tells us that there's been a change in the environment. What was once a dry desert is starting to be inundated with water yet again. So rising sea levels are carrying in all this coarser sediment and then burying these old sand dunes and creating sort of intertidal, like, mudflats kind of thing. This moist, swampy lowland was the perfect habitat for all sorts of famous Jurassic dinosaurs, but it was also kind of the ideal conditions for creating dinosaur fossils, as dinosaurs could easily fall into the lakes or rivers or whatever, and then be buried pretty quickly. So if you look as well, the rock is actually like slightly red in colour, and that's actually super accurate. I know that sounds weird, but like basically in real life, these rocks contain iron oxides, which have actually rusted over time in a process called oxidation. So yeah, that's the Navajo Sandstone. How cool is that? Gosh, I wonder where I parked. Okay, so we're now arriving at an area called Willow Creek, and amazingly, I can tell you that this area has been rendered extremely accurately. So yeah, a lot of the environments in this game are meant to be pretty generic, but well, not to give too much of a peek behind the curtain in how I make these videos, but it's very rare for me to actually be able to find the exact point in the real world. That's why I used that cave before, so that I was absolutely certain that that was the rock type we were looking at. It's really hard, especially outside of like towns and cities, but I found this highway, and I thought, just, you know, I'll follow it in Google Earth and see if I can find this power station, and eventually I did. I found the exact same spot, which was awesome because it meant that I had the coordinates, which meant that I could easily tell you exactly which rock types we are looking at. So yeah, this is the Black Hawk Formation. It's, yes, another sandstone, admittedly, but it's interbedded, as you can kind of see, with shale and silt and also coal seams. So by interbedded, I basically mean that the sandstone is broken up by other layers, and to be honest, you can kind of see that represented here. So we've got these big sort of darker layers that kind of protrude out. I think they were trying to go for this. I think they've recreated it pretty accurately. This sort of back and forth interbedding of coal and shale tells us that this was deposited pretty close to the shoreline yet again. So we'd call that environment sort of marginal marine, if that makes sense. We're effectively in a delta where sand is being washed into the sea by a river. However, as the sea level has fluctuated, that whole system of where the river meets the sea is being shifted back and forth, in and out to sea. Can you kind of imagine? During some periods, when the sea level is lower, you have the accumulation of vegetation because, well, this part of the world is exposed to the surface. That produces coal, which is presumably why there's a massive power station right next to us. But then, when the sea level increases, when sea level comes up, the shoreline moves further inland, and this whole area goes underwater and gets buried in silt and shale, which is deposited by the ocean. I hope that makes sense. Also, this formation is Cretaceous in age and is very famous for its trace fossils, particularly fossil footprints of dinosaurs like hadrosaurs and even theropods and ceratopsians. They're really cool. I actually think they're quite cute, even though they're huge. And so yeah, that pretty much covers the Cretaceous. We're now once again going to head back the way we came and head into the Paleocene. So after we leave these beautiful sandstone cliffs, the dinosaurs are now extinct, or at least the non-avian dinosaurs I should say. And something extremely important is going to happen to Utah. So we've just been talking about sea level change, and that seems to have been one of the biggest factors in shaping the geology of Utah. But towards the end of the Cretaceous, Utah undergoes major uplift. After spending something like 500 million years just sort of hanging out at sea level, Utah was finally uplifted to its modern day altitude in the Eocene. So that's about 50 million years ago. So wait. The uplift of the Colorado Plateau was so immense that it cut off all drainage systems in Utah that were basically trying to head to the ocean. Basically, any fresh water in Utah was trapped inland, and it created this vast system of lakes and basins, which was perfect for forming new sedimentary rocks, such as the very famous Green River Formation, which... Oh, actually, hang on. Oh, it's right there. Hold on. Let me just pull over. Perfect. Okay. So, we could do this from the comfort of our cabin. Now, I know this does not look like much, but I have cross-referenced this with geological maps and Google Street View and a quick email to the USGS that presumably went straight to someone's junk folder? I don't know. I am fairly confident that this outcrop is meant to represent the Green River Formation. If you remember, the bedding that we saw at the Navajo Sandstone was very sort of tilted. Here we've got very nice horizontal layering, which is kind of very associated with this formation. The name is a bit of a misnomer. It's named after the nearby river that we saw earlier. The rock itself, like I said, formed in basins and shallow lakes. And this rock outcrops all across Utah, as well as Wyoming and Colorado. Like, it kind of bugs me just how ugly this outcrop is, because there are some really gorgeous locations in Utah and the rest of America with this rock outcrops. And this is the best I could find, so I do apologise. Anyway, I should be a big fan of this rock because it holds some very famous fossil fishes, which is actually what I work on in my research out in the real world when I'm not doing whatever the hell this is. Not to sound like a total hipster, but I'm kind of into the real indie fossil fishes, you know? The Green River fishes, you can find them in like every fossil shop in the world. They're kind of the poser fossil fish, if that makes sense. Basically like Megalodon, you know? Anyway, sorry, no, they're called Knightia. They're quite cool, they're super common, and they belong to a group of ray-finned fishes, very similar to like herrings and anchovies, things like that. The lake has also fossilized some cool insects and also some nice leaves. You can find some early Paleocene mammals, as well as some turtles, and I think even a crocodile as well, which is pretty cool. Oh, you can also find fossil scales of a fish called a gar. They're actually really cool. They're way cooler than Knightia. So they first evolved in the Jurassic, so that was like the first outcrop we saw. And they're still alive today. You can find them in the like rivers in like the Mississippi River, for instance, in Louisiana. Which I guess is pretty helpful because it helps demonstrate that this rock formed in a freshwater environment as opposed to a marine environment. Anyway, it's getting dark yet again, so I guess we should get a move on. I hope I'm pointing at the right rock. Like I said, there's so many like gorgeous, famous like outcrops. I'll put a picture up for someday if I can find one. But they're just not in this game, so yep. That's all we get. I think we want to head... Oh, look at that. That is pretty. Eyes on road. Sorry. Okay, we want to head to, I believe, Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City is... Oh, we just got to turn left, basically, and I think our little marker is going to take us there anyway. Yeah, I've actually meant to finish this job in San Francisco. That ain't happening. Oh, we've got a little gas station here. We'll have a little snooze. We'll fill up on some fuel. And we'll be right as rain to head on to Salt Lake City for the grand finale. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot I was running a red light. Oh well, I think we can just sort of park up here. Yeah, that'll do just nicely. Right. Right. Once like pandemic times are behind us, I really hope I get to explore this state for real. It's really cool. Just wait up. Hold on a minute. Hold on. Wait. Is that what I think it is? It is! So, just for 5 minutes, okay? Just 1 second. That, firstly, hooray another dinosaur, but also, I am 100% confident that that is meant to represent one of the Sinclair's sauropod dinosaurs. So, there's a gas station in the US called Sinclair's. And they're only in a couple of states. I know for a fact, for instance, that they're in Wyoming. And they all have these very cute little dinosaur statues outside. Let me be 100% clear. The oil industry is not our friend. They are very bad. But I quite like this. And if you're good, and if I'm feeling up for it, there may now be on screen a picture of me riding one of these things whilst drinking a milkshake. If that's up now on screen, you're very welcome. If not, and I cut this whole thing out, I am a coward. Ah, look at that. That is extremely pretty. Like I said, all of these lakes are basically kind of cut off from the ocean. See, I'm super familiar with like the geography of the Pacific Northwest, but here I'm kind of a bit blind and a bit clueless. Exhibit A by this maneuver that I made just then. Okay, we're off again. I'm so excited that we're nearly done. As much as I love making these videos, God, they take all the... Wait a minute, hang on. Where do we go? I'm trying to look through the holes. Can we see where we are? Oh, that way. Right, you're gonna hate me for this, but I've just got to sneak across here. Sorry, this is where I was trying to get to. I was in the wrong lane. You know how it is. You know how it is. Salt Lake City. I don't know anything about Salt Lake City. That's such a shame. But I do know things about Salt Lake, so I'm going to talk about them in a minute. Is this Salt Lake? It looks pretty Salt Lake City. The sat-nav is also telling me to go on the... What the hell is that? What on earth? Anyway, I gotta pay attention. Oh no, I missed another turning. Is that it over there? Oh. Ooh. Does anyone want to do the worst part of any geology field trip and go and look at the quarry? I had a look, it wasn't worth it. I'm not even going to include it in the video. It's like I said, it's the worst part of every geology field trip. The bit where you go and look at the quarry. Road work ahead? I sure hope it does. If it sounded like I'm stalling for time, by the way, I've kind of lost the lake. I know it's somewhere around here, like the salt flats, I mean. Driven quite a ways from Salt Lake City, I've not found it. Anyway, sorry, I keep talking about what I'm looking for, and I haven't really introduced what we're doing. I'm aiming to get to the Pleistocene, basically. Now, last time we spoke about glacial geology and Ice Age mammals, of which there are, many things to talk about related to that in Utah, which is really cool. We don't really want to repeat too much of what we said, so we're actually looking for the Bonneville salt flats, and I think we've found them. So around 32 to 14,000 years ago, I think, the Bonneville Salt Flats was a vast freshwater lake, which we now just refer to as Lake Bonneville. And it was huge, had an area over 50,000 kilometers squared, which is like the same size as Lake Michigan. But yeah, basically, Lake Bonneville was a terminal lake, which means that it isn't drained in any way to the ocean. Rivers flow into the lake, and the water just got trapped there. I think around 17,000 years ago, ice sheets began melting much more significantly, and the massive input of glacial meltwater actually caused the lake to burst its banks. It overflowed. The flood was so chaotic, it lasted nearly an entire year, transporting water and debris as far as the Pacific coast in Oregon and Washington, which is where we were last time. It caused so much erosion and deposition, it changed the course of the Columbia River. There are huge layers of gravel and boulders all over like Idaho and Oregon that this thing just dumped everywhere. It was a truly awesome geological catastrophe, which, is just very exciting. As the world continued to grow warmer and the Ice Age came to its end, evaporation increased and the rate of input from meltwater and streams decreased. And so now, instead of overflowing, the lake began to shrink. And though the rivers were freshwater, the rivers had actually flowed through sediment and rock that contained salt, and it would carry this salt and deposit it in the lake. And again, because the lake has no way of draining, unless of course there's a huge flood, which isn't going to happen now because of the ended Ice Age, the salt just accumulated. And as the water continued to evaporate, the salt was left behind, which is what brings us to the present day. Shall we drive out onto it? So look, there's like tire marks. People clearly drive out on it. Surely we can have a little go. Okay, grand finale time. Let's do this. I'm just looking in the mirror. That looks so ridiculous. This is just absolutely fantastic. And yeah, we're basically just driving over the remains of, fish and salt. It doesn't look like it goes on too far, does it? Unless this is just an island. Maybe there's more on the other side. Yeah, it'll be fine. Don't worry. I have no clue what's on the other side of this thing. Oh. Oh no! Can we back up out of this thing? I don't think the diff-lock's gonna help us now. Oh no. Oh dear. Okay, so I managed to reverse out, but we have another problem now. Hmm.